You start a God-given assignment with momentum and joy, only to hit an unexpected wall of resistance almost immediately. The foundation is barely laid before everything starts to feel like a battle. Most of us interpret this friction as a sign that we've stepped out of God's will, but the history of the restoration suggests the opposite. Opposition is often the confirmation that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Ezra chapter 4 provides a detailed anatomy of how this opposition works. By looking at the specific tactics used to stop the rebuilding of the temple, we can map out a practical strategy for our own survival. As we go through this, I want you to have a pen and paper ready. We aren't just going to study this history. We are going to use it to build a written resilience plan for the obstacles you're facing right now. The first phase of this plan begins with drawing a boundary.
In Ezra 4, the descendants of people resettled by the Assyrians approached the Jewish leaders with a friendly handshake. They claimed to seek the same God and offered to help rebuild the temple. These groups practiced syncretism. Syncretism is the blending of different, often conflicting religious beliefs. In this case, mixing the worship of Yahweh with the worship of their own national idols. This is a subtle form of opposition. It doesn't look like an attack. It looks like an easier, more convenient path forward through partnership. Zerubbabel and the other leaders refused the offer. They understood that who builds the house is just as important as what is being built. They prioritized the integrity of the foundation over the speed of the construction. Take your paper and create a section titled My Boundaries. We need to evaluate the nature of the help currently being offered in your life. Identify any partnership or shortcut that requires you to compromise your core convictions. Write down the specific offers you must refuse today, even if that refusal results in a delay. Resilience begins by choosing the isolation of a clear no over the temporary comfort of a compromised yes. Once the compromise was rejected, the opposition changed its shape. The friendly neighbors launched a relentless campaign of harassment that lasted for generations. In the next section of your paper, write the heading, The Tactics. We are going to audit the current resistance you are facing. The first strategy is psychological warfare, working systematically to make the builders afraid to continue. When fear failed, they used economic bribery, hiring lobbyists to freeze resources. Finally, the paper trail, sending official letters making false accusations of sedition to turn the government against the project. This is an example of the kind of rigid, official correspondence used in the Persian Empire. The opposition used the weight of this bureaucracy to give their lies the force of law. Look at these three tactics: fear, financial frustration, and false accusations. Write down which one is currently being used against your assignment. Putting a name to the specific tactic being used against you changes your perspective. It moves the struggle out of the realm of vague, heavy anxiety and turns it into a defined obstacle that can be acknowledged. This is a royal relief, a physical display of the absolute authority of a Persian king. In Ezra 4, the opposition strategy worked. A king's decree was issued and the work on the temple was forcibly stopped for 16 years. This period is the Saturday of restoration. It is the silent, agonizing gap between the start of a project and its eventual completion. Identify the area of your life that feels frozen or abandoned in this long delay and write it down. Next to that area, write out this affirmation: My stopped season is not a finished season. During these 16 years of silence, the construction site looked like a failure, but God was not idle. He was preparing the political landscape and the prophetic voices that would eventually restart the work. Instead of asking for the mountain of the delay to be removed, pivot your prayer. Write down a request for the specific strength you need to maintain your position while you wait. True resilience is the ability to maintain faith when the work is at a standstill and the silence feels permanent. Look at the plan you've written down. You have identified your boundaries, named the tactics against you, and reframed the silent delay. An earthly authority can issue a stop work order lasting years, but that decree has no power over the eternal proceed order issued by the Creator. Commit this written plan to the Lord. Even if the site is currently quiet, you can mentally pick your tools back up today. Refusing to quit during the silent years is the very thing that leads to the joyful completion of the work.